Guys, prepare yourself for a special experience, I would say. We are uncovering the story of number 30. Alright, I have talked about this, and there's so much more material to actually cover because now I am receiving the information of how crazy it gets, when you naturally hit this number of years. That's what I'm talking about. It's a number of years. And it's you just naturally gravity towards different gender. You can actually craft love all of a sudden. Up to that point, you're just still growing as a person, but past that point, something changes. And I can predict that it's gonna happen. Like I have put so much work and I have collected so much resentment from other people that I just sit here, do nothing but work for myself. I work for myself for a long time now. And I will still do it next year, and I will do it as long as it takes for me to break through and figure out truly what I meant to do in life. You know. But there is this epic line that you cross. You hit 30, and a lot of things changes. Everything about your life becomes different from a new perspective, basically. And everything you do has slightly different consequences because all of a sudden you are now taking a lot of responsibilities and a lot of blame for your actions because you're now completely mature. You know how most of the things work, or at least you had plenty of time to figure out the principles of life and respect other people. You should have learned that. Why? Because we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about why. I have pinpointed the most important problem, which is loneliness. And it has been thrown at me one more time by this video. The secret to a happy life. So basically, some doctors bragging about a very, very long experiment where they try to figure out uh, what is the ingredient for a happy life, and he just figured out the opposite of what to avoid. Well, he brags for a long time of how long this study is. I'm not gonna lie. So in the middle, he does that, right? Good relationships keep us happier and healthier, and that's the deal. That is the deal. Up until that point, it's not really your responsibility to even take care of yourself. It's your parents who should kind of guide you for the most part. And they slowly like detach from you. And the lowest point in your life is when parents have tried their best to detach, and you have tried to detach from them. You have hits, you're 18 years old, you moved out into a big city or something. So you try to detach from your parents, but you can't detach from programming the same way. It's a whole nother level, right? And if you're lonely like myself, parents still played a very important role as friends now. So my dad comes in to play and drags me into UK basically. There's a big portion from 20 to 24 years where I just spent in UK and treated my dad as a friend, and now I treat my mom as a friend. Of like, I have to take care of her, I have to make sure she's somewhat entertained and has stuff to do, and I have to make sure I use money efficiently and just stay here because it's a pretty good place. I got a lot of things in return. I don't think my mom is now a caretaker of me anymore. She's just a friend that technically does the same thing as I do. Gets money from the government. That's what we do, guys. I'm like, I just made a joke, bro. Oh my god. Bro, I need. There's always like pipes leaking, bro. I need government money to fix all the pipes, man. There's plenty of pipes in my room, bro. They they do a lot of functions, man. You don't ask me questions. But they're leaking all the time. So I have to get money. Yeah, the funny thing is, I'm thinking about as well is whatever experience you have here is not really real. It's not really like connection with other people. Even if you make friends, I've been able to lose all the friends. They seem to be quite toxic and like power hungry basically. But somehow if you live like that, you probably hit at 30 in a completely different angle, which makes your dreams a lot lower. Because you have no idea what life is about if you power hungry somehow. Because you're going to be motivated in completely different ways. So, I talked about a lot of bullshit, and we can all, like, collect all that bullshit and just put it in this map all over. Because you learn different things across different years of your life. Technically, it's just me that I can talk about my history and things I've learned. But everyone like went through the school experience, and the school experience is like an important part of your life where you realize you're not really alone, and you're going to be judged by a lot of people, and this is where you try to escape in a way of what you want to do, at least into your identity. I didn't try to escape my parents that much, but I wanted to be normal like everyone else, and it somehow turned out to be not. I wasn't lucky enough, basically, but I wasn't realizing how kind of lucky it is not to go to university, not to apply to all these weird places, and then being dragged by my dad into UK was a pretty cool experience. As an experience, not really resourceful, but that's the point. While you're below 30, nothing matters in terms of material goods, in terms of friendships. That doesn't fucking matter. What matters is the experience that you collect, and that shit fucking blows my mind. The things that I've been able to do. All right. The fact that I was able to like reach with my self-esteem all the way to celebrity level, and I'm like, well, these can be my friends at some point. I'm like, yeah, that's completely normal. So this is why you don't want to be power hungry, because you're never gonna grab money in the proper way. You're never gonna generate money or wealth in a proper way, because you won't be able to know where to get experience of how to spend money, what to actually build for your future in the first place. Where you gonna put money? What is important? What are friends for? What kind of friends are good? Like you need experience for all these questions that you'll be having in order to avoid making mistakes. And obviously, I'm not like a flawless human being, but I just can't help it. I am stuck somehow in a lower tier position than anyone else, but they don't understand either. I'm the one who gets the experience that, doesn't leech off or has terrible consequences or doesn't make me addicted or doesn't waste my time. So in order to do that, you have to do as least as possible, travel as least distance as possible. For actually the greatest experience, you have to do as little effort as possible sometimes. Sometimes even saying, no, I don't want to work today. No, I don't want to do this. Sometimes being lazy is completely fine, just in order to grab experience. Obviously, when I break this barrier, life will change and will challenge me to such a high level that, I probably will not be comfortable with. Potentially, I wasn't really comfortable with school, but that's why I have to like build the proper memories of like how do I behave in a social environment so it's acceptable, so I do a maximum impact, all these things. Like I have to train myself, I have to connect to a lot of people just spiritually alone so I don't lose my mind. When I get challenged, I'm sort of feeling protected and I can tap into like different characters. And you gotta act your way out, it feels like, in this situation. You gotta act your way out and don't not take things too seriously. When you have to do something, when you have to ask for something, because now you might be on your own entirely, and no, your parents are not going to respect you if you try to spend time with them. They just want to see, a successful human being in a way that they have made, and they could get some kind of benefits out of it, but it's almost like it's completely pointless, right? Like there's a reason why we pay pensions and why all these old people kind of live alone. Like they're just left behind, and they're sort of okay being that way. Still a question mark, to be honest. But because I wouldn't be okay in my late ages to be left alone completely. That's a weird one. There's a lot of question marks. All right. Now I'm just gathering experience, and again, you can see how to do that very efficiently. I just sit here, express myself, figure out what I want to do for that day, what experience I want to gather, and luckily enough, we have built the internet, and it just has pretty much everything that I need personally to do crazy things and not to be a boring person to myself while being completely alone and isolated. So it's a lot of question marks for everyone else of how can I even achieve that. But they don't ask questions. They just tempt you with, trying to pull you away from all your goals. Because they can potentially feel your speed, feel your direction. Because that's what your speed is how straightforward you go into the dream world. But you have to put yourself in an angle so you don't show how much you wanted the dream world, because someone can just steal it from you potentially, right? And there's plenty of time to do things in a lazy way and just enjoy the laziness, and the mistakes that you're gonna make are also important. So just going straight forward is and reaching the impossible and knowing too much is another question mark. Who's even capable of doing that? I can't do it. I'm full of flaws in terms of how I got here, but it's like I can't blame myself for that. Other people can help me out, and other people will have to help me out. This is kind of the thing that will keep everyone going forward. Is that like I am not perfect. That's the whole point. And people can help me in different ways. People can contribute. And if they feel like if there's an opening, they probably will care a lot more instead of like. Because, like, yeah, it's almost like this slight angle allows people to feel more comfortable with you as a person. No one wants to see perfection where they can't do anything. Because perfection means, like, again, no one can contribute because they feel like someone already did their job. That's what perfection means in a way. It's actually pretty toxic. So now we're talking about this angle. Yeah, and this is what people do sometimes. They think they need to have more power because they can have like more of something. But all they collect are question marks. And then there's this angle that they come out into the real world, and then they realize, damn, this sucks. Right? There's the ability to just restart everything, start from scratch. You almost like need new parents for that, because who's gonna pull you up? But then I come into play, or anyone who has crossed this line, and can be your, step parents in a way. Even if you're old, you can still restart your life, and and you probably can do it in like 2 years now. Re-angle yourself and redo. Nothing is in life is like completely set in stone, and except for your body, because I don't know how you heal your body that easily. It's a tough one. But everything's technically in a fluid state and can be managed to some extent and fixed in various ways. You have to find those ways. You have to appreciate again experiences that you get, because those can tell you how to fix the problems that you might have accumulated. So yeah, 30 for me is that magical number where everyone understands at that point you're a completely different person. You're not young adult. Something entirely changes. It's really frustrating to go down all the way through school and realize, shit, I was completely alone this whole time. No one around me, like, wanted to give me good decisions or what to do with my life. Like, when I was in the UK, I was just being abused in a way. Because you have to pay goddamn rent. You have to work every day. It's now technically slavery. You don't get to actually earn anything unless you escape. And escape is not as easy as it seems. And it's still pretty expensive too. I don't remember exactly, but you also have to pack your bags and make sure that when you're escaping, that everything you bought is actually baggable in the first place. I had to leave a whole computer behind because I just couldn't carry that shit. I had a laptop, but now I'm still using a box computer, bro. Because laptop just kind of broke, and these things are like flawed because they're not stationary. You just move them around so the wires get messed up. It was the charger that messed up really fast. Or like charging port, I don't even know. I don't care anymore. It was such a mess. So, but the ending was pretty annoying to me. Because like I realized, like, God damn, I'm lonely. Like, what the fuck do I do? How do I kickstart my life without friends, right? If I just have my dad around, which I don't like, what am I supposed to do now? I'm just stuck again at zero. And it's always like this question, like, how do you make friends? I haven't figured that out. I haven't figured out how to make proper friends either. And in a way, it's like, you're not supposed to be making friends. You're supposed to be trying not to be bored. And appreciate the people around you. And allow them to be closer and closer to you until, sparks fly or something weird happens. And you have to start a conversation. You just kind of have to. And it kind of like, in America, you have all these actors reenacting of how it's supposed to look like. But then they get into the real world, they become ugly as well. And the reason why I'm talking about number 30 here, this whole thing, I am approaching it, But there's a whole nother aspect of why I'm so excited to talk about, and I already mentioned. It's about men and women, a different dynamic that is born within in the real world. In the fake worlds, where parents get to decide, they also, give you shitty advice of like, oh, you can marry this person or have this many babies and whatever. If you screw yourself over on other people's advice, or if you listen to your parents too much and grab too much self-esteem, you can listen to other people's parents or their programming, basically. Your friends can give you bad advice, and they will drag you down into this, deranged, longer route where you now have to drag not only yourself but your partners, all kinds of different people. So it's actually much better to be alone in this situation. You're climbing the mountain completely alone. It's best to do it alone. And despite what this thing says, oh, loneliness kills or whatever. To some extent, but scientists are not trying to understand the matrix and to put things together into a perspective. They're just looking into data and just generalizing things overly, too much, simplifying too much. Even though they're not supposed to, they're supposed to make some kind of conclusions after all, but they're going to miss a lot of points. Where I just kind of naturally, intuitively picked up on these patterns, it's very even difficult to explain the initial steps that I had to take to find this out. Because this pattern doesn't end there. You hit the top and you go down. But there's that special period where you're going to be able to hit your dreams. Hit your dream goals all the way from 30 to 40. But let's talk about the men and women dynamic, because it's pretty crazy. Again, women are not supposed to settle down when in their 20s. They're not supposed to do that, because it's going to drag them down, as I said. Now they have to carry a lot of burdens, and they can't get proper, straightforward experience, and they have to, live longer every day, have a lot more pain every day, have to suffer and think that life is a lot longer than it actually is. Because, suffering kind of makes things shorter in a way. Longer in a way. When you feel pain, it just kind of grounds you into a longer experience. So there's a baby crying, a man is uncomfortable about something. There's a lot of fears floating around. You're basically juggling a lot of painful things. And again, I have this conversation with a girl that I care about, but she doesn't care about the conversation. I just care about learning all these things, but she feels like has been dragged down all the way into actually negative space where women are not supposed to be at. So it's like, it feels really bad to look at a person like that. That was, most women, and especially the ones that I try to talk to, they are attractive, right? But if they just use their attractiveness in exchange to power, well, first of all, you know what happens. They just pretty much join the porn industry in some kind of way. And they try to monetize it, try to harvest power of some other sorts, try to attract a perfect man for them. They just try to control their lives, which again, if you're gonna create your life below 30, it's just gonna be fake. It's not gonna be that as real as you think, or under actually your control, because you're gonna hit the realization that reality is very complicated, and what simplifies it is like real experiences. Is that you've done actual real things with real people who cared about you and didn't try to deceive you or give you bad advice. So in this point, I'm like, wait. Once I hit this, and if I hit it properly, I will be like able like to take my revenge properly as well. It's almost like everything I will be doing past this point will actually have real consequences for the first time. Like, people will have to pay attention to me because it will have real consequences. Like, even my dreams, like every single thing you do will be under much higher level of control. Simply because you don't really need experiences for the sake of having experiences, for the sake of answering a bunch of questions. You're literally doing things because you have goals. You know, and that's a completely different thing. It's like now you're building muscle in a lot faster, more dynamic way. You know how to do it. You figured everything out. That's a really crazy thing. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really a man of action, but hey, internet taught me otherwise. Internet made me feel that yes, I can do action. I just have to not be bored about it. You know, just have to make it somewhat interesting and like multi-dimensional. So if I would play chess, I also want to have a conversation with someone at the same time. This kind of multi-dimensional thinking allows me to just spread my attention to the point where I don't feel pain from doing things anymore, because again, I'm not bored. It's very boring to just focus too much on one thing, and potentially it is this way because if I set myself on fire or whatever, if you focus the sun rays, because I'm a very focus heavy person, so I already focus on things, but if I focus too much, like things are gonna fucking explode, set on fire uncontrollably. I don't know, man. This doesn't sound good at all. I still haven't figured out what fire element is all about, because when you think about fire element, you think about fire. But it's not exactly about fire. Because if you look around yourself right now, do you see any fire? All four elements exist around you. So, fire is somewhere. You know. It's also inside your body, there's fire that spits out carbon dioxide. So fire exists, but it's completely different material than what we describe as fire. And it's important because this is where you enter that realm of fire, of action, of courage. Yeah, like you have to have courage to do things. And if you have been lonely, then whatever you invent, you can just invent your own types of courage and things you want to do in life. You're completely boundless in terms of that. But the first thing to figure out is how the fuck do you make friends, right? So the strategy I think works, again, you just walk around, do things, and instead of getting drunk or, you know, picking up women or some bullshit like that, you just spread your attention onto other people. You focus your attention on other people, and potentially they will try to piss you off or challenge you in some kind of way. You can do so much. There's so much, and it's not really appropriate for me to just reveal the secret when it's probably a story-worthy thing. Something has to happen, and then I will reveal the secret of how I got there. That would be nice. But for now, I have to prepare myself for a different sort of amount of action that I have to take. Yeah, there's all sorts of people, like rich kids, poor kids. You know them from school, you get to see how far they went. And I think I embarrassed everyone. Because my mentality was like, I have to achieve something when that time happens, when we try to reunite classmates. I have to achieve something. I have to be proud of myself in a way. And magic happens, and I become proud of myself because I just found my own way to live my life and to unleash maximum amount of effort. And while I was finishing high school, I just kind of wrote a book of, it's just a random book of just clusters of feelings. But it's a reminiscent of just how I make my videos. I just allow myself to express myself and not worry about it, a thing. And I didn't heard any criticism about the book or any feedback. The only thing I got is just a bunch of clicks on the thing that I've created. People were interested for some reason. They were looking for, uh, their own experience in a way. Everyone is just lonely, so they have no opinions, nothing to say. Everyone is scared. I just realized, I'm not that different from anyone. So the best thing I can do is just not worry about that part. That someone has power over me or some bullshit like that. There's basically this whole video is quite a liberation story, I would say. Or like the ending, because I know that I'm close enough, I'm gonna be just fine, but now I need to transition, right? I need to prepare myself for the actual thing. Hopefully I'm not being tricked and this year number 0 doesn't actually count. You better not. I would say like numbers are pretty magical. And when you say you're 30, well, it is what it is. Your mindset has to change just because the second digit changed, not the first one. And just like your name and your title, the number next to you is pretty important. Absolutely. Again, it changes. Like, it's a new decade. It's a completely different idea of who you are. And that idea has to be solidified somewhere. I just don't see people talking about it often enough. Even at school and everywhere, I felt just enough resentment to suspect loneliness. That this is where we're going, into loneliness, where I haven't really made any connections. I have no control over my life. I really have no clue of how to do things to make them work. And it's really painful idea, I would say. Even up to this point, I'm like very confused how it's gonna evolve, but I know we're gonna be fine. I know I put in a lot more work than most other people, at least into this analysis of these things. I cannot pretend that that's enough, because now I have to redeem my tokens in a way. And that's a very teasing experience, I would say. Because people will stop me and they will just read my soul just by stopping in the streets. You're just crossing paths and you stop and people just read your soul in a way. And you're like, have I seen this person? What would we be thinking? What are we doing right now? Which directions we come from? Every single fucking detail. We're just reading each other's data, just like that. And the real question is like, is that enough sparks to actually start a conversation as well? And you have to kind of push for that to happen, but only if it's meaningful enough as well. So it's a lot of training that I'll have to do past that point. Fucking life changes, man. But you can sense like this is weird. Again, the weirdest thing and the main part of the conversation of like finally, I will no longer be manipulated by women and their prettiness in a way, because I can choose whatever I want. I can just focus on something else, and I already have a celebrity in mind that will just clear out any person who has broken through plenty of walls, right? So maybe a girl has reached 3,000 points, which would be, certain amount of hours, like 200 hours, 50 hours? 50 hours, I guess? I don't know. It is 50. So kind of like spend 50 hours with me, but then became toxic when, because you always have to change the seasons, and all of a sudden she hits a season where like, oh, now I can unleash my super duper secret strategy. But then she also has to face the celebrity quartet basically. But there's plenty of other celebrities too that made it, and yeah, this whole YouTube Rewind is not only about me highlighting things all across YouTube, but it's from my perspective. I can't help it, and I'm also again alone in this adventure, which is why it's so difficult to craft a good rewind in general, unless you turn it into your own like story, your own experience, and well, you do have to work very hard to put it all together so everyone understands what's going on, what you're trying to say. But overall, you can only do a good job if it's a 50-50. It's about a message to everyone, but it's also a story that's personal to you and that you understand very well. So you have to send a message about yourself because you understand yourself very well, and you have to make it very clear for everyone, so everyone understands what you're saying. That's a 50-50 split of sanity. You do your thing, and you make sure that other people can appreciate it. But yeah, the image of women that I had to deal with was fake. It's like, oh, they're having a bunch of sex, they're having babies, they're having relationships. I'm just left alone, but it's all fake. They had more control over their lives, and they have been able to sell their bodies in different ways, offer their bodies for different resources. So potentially they had entangled themselves into, long-lasting, even marriage type of relationships, and be kind of probably going to express that most of these were just mistakes. That it's very difficult to be alone when you have to take care of other people. But that's the question, where these studies won't be able to answer you because you don't get data, you just get a story. Does it have to go all the way? Good relationships? Can you be born with good relationships? I just don't think so. Because you're born with zero experience. And it's experience that binds you to reality in general and make you create relationships that way. You're born with zero. You have to figure out a way to push yourself to have the best story for your life. And a good story is gonna, and a healthy story is gonna make you attractive in general, no matter what. Women become attractive early on because they must not learn skills, while men are actually challenged by not being attractive, by not getting all these values given by, life. But now we're challenged in a different way. Men have to figure out skills and answer a lot of questions. Women just have to be very, very careful. Carefully allow things to flow into their lives. If they allow too many things, too much toxicity, if they have no control over it, no proper self-defense, then they will fall apart. But they also have to drag in the good things, allow good things to flourish. And I feel like I was, neglected. I felt like I was a good person, and that anytime I was rejected, I like, what's that about? What's going on? So that's still a big question mark. Should we answer it right now? Was I actually a good person? But not exactly, because I still have to, develop myself. And I was good enough person, so I deserved to be rejected. That was the actual story. I was so good that I had to be rejected. I had to twist their self-defense to where, like, I'm good, but maybe he's good because he has a sinister strategy. Maybe he has a knife up his back. Something bad is going to happen. I'm so good that I scare a lot of women away. And that's how I have to feel about this. Because normally, in normal circumstances, even just starting an online conversation with a woman, it's not supposed to be the most complicated task. Just adding her into a friends list, following, just hitting her up on Instagram. That's not supposed to be the most complicated thing. Rocket science nonsense of how do I start a conversation with a person. So that alone is infinite amounts of rejection in that sense. So you have to find another way around this whole situation. Something that would make sense. And women cannot run away and build self-defense in the real world that easily. They have to actually appreciate real life efforts, because that's the end for them. If you have enough self-esteem to approach a woman in the real world, now they know they have to be very careful, and now they are kind of frozen in place by the amount of force you broke through. Basically, you broke through the silence, and you're in the real world. So if they make sudden moves, they're just going to be attacked by a bear. Like, that sort of situation they're in. When you're in online space, you're just literally giving them up the idea that, oh, they can do whatever they want with you. But the reality is, no. No. I'm just very, very good. So what happened to me personally, I realized online space is actually a wonderful place to make relationships. It's a good, very good place. But because I'm such a good person, I was still rejected from just the idea alone. Because who am I gonna make relationships with anyways, right? And then finally it dawned on me, it's the highest level of relationships I could ever make. The celebrities. If I stare at celebrities and I pretend that I'm talking to them, that I'm having this relationship of whatever their projection is, then this is the most real thing I will ever have. This is the most real and positive thing I will ever have. And anytime I will try to talk to a girl, they will just open up self-defense because they have all the tools and at their disposal to do whatever the fuck they want in this online space. They will just put up, their egos. Everyone is power hungry in that sense. If you're above them and you're not as power hungry yourself, they will just reject you. Because they feel that they're on the right track and that you're pulling them in something weird or more pressured in a lazier way of life. But the reality is, life is not supposed to be slavery. Life is not supposed to be chasing things where you're going to burn out your sanity. Life is just quite simply, you know, a happy experience where you're not don't have to compete with everyone around you. You just have to find things you like to do. You don't have to trash everyone around you either. You just have to defend yourself from being attacked by people with lower self-esteem who want to trash you instead. But you don't have to trash them. If they're asking for it, it's like, well, let's have a food fight, whatever. I don't care. But yeah, the most important thing is keeping everything positive, just because you can. Just because it's completely worth it to wake up every day and just be sort of happy, even in this zero experience state, because everything cleans up every day. Your mind is clean and just quickly gathers, the surrounding energies to remind you of, like, oh yeah, that's what I am. Because that's a scary thing that I just said, because you can probably wake up anywhere and whoever. Like, I have no idea what this is past this barrier, because when I'm talking about reality, I'm not talking about fake reality where it's bound by gravity. I'm talking about reality where literally anything is possible. And that's even scarier than anything you can imagine. Huh? Again, if something is possible, it's probably possible past this barrier. If anything you can imagine, if anything you have dreamed about or fantasized about, it's probably possible in some kind of way. Obviously, you have to simplify. Like, do you really need to fly or see through things, see through walls or some bullshit like that? Also, we need to question of, like, how far can our fantasies go, right? Because our fantasies are bound by the things we have. Back in the day, we didn't have internet, so we didn't fantasize about certain superpowers. But now we do, and now we're like, shit, science is magic in a way. And still, with the internet, it's still pretty difficult to find where's the boundary, right? And again, yes, I'm saying, like, oh, you can wake up in a different body or some bullshit like that. Kind of. You can definitely manipulate other people, and your intentions are absolutely real, and other people can feel everything you think about, and they can project just by talking and you hearing things. They don't have to talk directly to you. You just pick things through your feelings. You must understand, your senses are picking up information even if you don't actually allow it to explain itself, to make itself clear. You can look at something and you're picking up information, but it can be blurry. So you don't know what that is, but you're still picking up all the information. Somewhere, somehow, it's being gathered. And maybe it doesn't have to be clear. It can just stay blurry, but the information is now there. You don't have to understand when people talk behind your back of what they're saying. You just imagine that you understand, and all of a sudden you're picking up that information. So the clarity happens. Maybe your vision is supposed to be blurry so that you have ability to imagine what you actually saw. You have the ability to bend reality simply because your vision is blurred up, is messed up. Now it's almost like it's bad that Mr. Beast cured blindness for people, because being blind is ability to imagine what it's like What it imagine your own version of the world, basically. Obviously, you don't want to be crippled in your life and embrace being crippled, but you don't want to believe in coincidences either. All right, you have to think that yeah, well, it happened, and just move on. This way, you can just move on and not think about what is happening. You know, you can just accept. Oh, that's true. It's very difficult to accept aliens, but it's not difficult to accept that someone cares about you and someone sent you a message that could potentially be important. And even if it turns out to be a scam of like, well, you spent quality time trying to understand how that other person feels like, and maybe you have made some kind of progress just by respecting. That's what it is. Eliminating coincidences is about amplifying your respect and allowing magic to flourish as well. You respect other people even if there are scammers. You respect that they're wasting their time on you specifically at that moment. Like, there's so many ways to respect people, and you will understand that like, this is actually a really important experience to appreciate people who just kind of doing their job, just kind of trying to get by, just people around you and how they interact with you as well, what they want from you. All that shit matters. All of that is a message to be analyzed. And you go back home and you get to remember. When you go back home, like this progress, right? This progress bar is something that is a stable structure that you can go back to. This is your home, basically. All the experience that you gather is going to be your home, and you're going to be able to go all the way back to zero. Snake yourself back to zero. And potentially, yeah, if you are married, some magical things can happen that I can't even imagine vividly, but like, damn. Imagine you just snap fingers, fucking, I'm Ariana Grande now. Now that's marriage. That I can understand. I can call marriage, bro. I want to believe in magic to that kind of level. Like that is pretty crazy. But you can only allow magic like that to manifest if you can actually make a positive impact into the world and not scare everyone. If you cannot do that, the magic will not allow itself to open up to you, unfortunately. And that's how this whole thing operates. You have to make a positive, meaningful impact to society, otherwise you're not allowed. The thing you're trying to do is off limits. That's how it feels like. So it's very important to harvest positivity and talk to women. They know a lot about positivity and how to, I don't know, stay positive, how to harvest it, how to think about it. So there's already a meaningful reason to, hang around women. Why would you hang around your bros? Again, I'm talking from a man's perspective. So, should you care about other men? Only to challenge them a little bit, to like equalize. If they like putting you down a little bit, annoying you or something, just kind of equalize a little bit. But if they're becoming hostile, that means now they're lower. So now you have to lower yourself down as well. So it's this weird dynamic where you have to level yourself up to a man that you potentially respect, but just out of respect you level yourself. What does it mean to level? Again, in this case, where you are higher, they're going to be hostile to you to try and pull you down. And if they're higher, they're going to, trample you a little bit. they're gonna make you feel bad. So you have to try and level yourself so there's no like resistance. No one is trying to look at you as an enemy or as a loser. All right. It's still a pretty complicated task. I might be making some mistakes here, but for me, a clue is of like be reasonable in online space. I can be as high as I want because I can put as much effort as I want, and you should not feel bad about it. You know, if I put effort, then that effort has to be respected and met with at least equal effort if you want to. I mean, you can do that. You can catch up to me. You don't have to respect every single fucking child. They're not men. You have to respect men that you feel threatened by, in a way. I mean, that's it. That's what you're supposed to level every time. So that's a very interesting thing as well. So harvest positivity from women and attract them, allow them to feel safe around you and all that shit. And then level against other men. And potentially the reverse is true with if you're a woman, right? Reverse is true with different genders. Now, if you're trans, then there's one sound that you need to figure out. Because you're harvesting power, and your future is completely different. So here's my advice to trans people and people who believe in global warming or whatever. Shit. Did I mess? That's what I think about those people. You're just lying to yourself, and like if you're a trans person, if you like maybe you're gonna break through and create the superpower of like, I don't know, spiritually transforming yourself. I don't care. But it has to be a real thing, observable, an experiencable thing. But transitioning from a man to a woman is like turning an apple into two apples instantly, whenever you feel like it. You don't just plant a seed and get two apples. Or just turning an apple in a completely different fruit into a banana. How do you do that? It's a magic trick now. All right? And we don't just agree that anyone can make any sort of magic trick that they want. The reason why we think like men can become women and the other way around is because like they look very similar. But it's like, what? That's not the point. No, we literally have melons or bananas. And we have fruits attached to our bodies, and that's how we define men and women. So if those are definitions, how the fuck do we transform? And now we can do surgery, guys. So we can definitely transform. Like, no. What? Yeah, you're gonna trick me? Now you're gonna try and trick me? There's more to it. There's a source for that, for this for the melon and whatever banana. There's a source for that. That didn't came from science, so science is not capable of changing those things. But hey, do your thing. Do your thing. You're just gonna be mocked for it. No problem. Because I don't believe in this shit. And I believe in a lot of things. A lot of magical things can happen. Maybe you can have both genitals somehow. There's so many weird things potentially possible, and we get to explore it past this 30 point. What is possible? I don't know, but you have to have courage, you have to have all these values as a human being, and first of all, just master life in general. Alright? Because there are people with ridiculous amount of power who have armies below them. Right? Who have a lot of fans and popularity and all these things. How do they have all these things? How is this possible? It's a superpower. It's a superpower that has been applied into the real world. And that shit is very, very difficult. But it's almost like it's always easy to be evil. Because people know. They will follow you. If you're evil, you will lose that superpower. It will turn against you eventually. It's just, it feels like that didn't happen in history. Across history, that doesn't. It felt like if someone had an army, they could just send an army and they will all just perish against another army. You know, it feels like everyone can get tricked very easily. But right now, maybe things have changed, and we're not supposed to look back into the day where light bulbs were not even a thing, right? So, life is very weird, and anytime someone crosses 30, it's definitely a huge celebration, and we have to really, really question ourselves in how many ways reality can break. We are born in this society, and it doesn't mean that that's all we get. We can potentially do a lot more. Is that it? Have I explained everything? We did hit an hour. I don't think I need a second hour, but I always feel like there's some kind of emptiness, so I'll try to make a conclusion that's satisfying. I do have to reinsert these things, the banana and the melons, man. They come from intentions. They come from your, not even your intentions, your parents' intentions of what you're supposed to be. Who you're supposed to be. It's a collection of intentions. So potentially, once you have a hold of your intentions, no one can knock you out. You can like repeat a certain thing, just like Mr. Beast can repeat a phrase and become popular all of a sudden. Or count to 100,000. But that's an intention of like, Mr. Beast intentionally wanted to be a crazy person about something, right? About numbers, about Jake Paul and Logan Paul. Am I right? And PewDiePie. That's an intention that he has programmed himself to do. There's definitely consequence of saying something 100,000 times. A definite consequence where you will become crazy. And people sort of can pick up on that idea. But it's very, very difficult because life contains so many things, right? So sometimes you just want to have those things instead of like sitting there and doing weird, crazy things. But it's so weird, right? Trying to find balance, like, it always like messes me up. So for me, the strategy is like do as least as possible, because goddamn it, at least that way I will not make mistakes. Shit. But now I don't feel like past the year 30 I will be able to do the least things as possible. I will have to do the most things as possible. So that's the question. Is that true? Will I have to do the most things possible? And the sad part, I think so. But I'm already doing it. You know, I'm already transitioning of like doing as much as possible. And people will ask me to do it as well. It's just I will have to filter out what I actually want to do and how much time I can dedicate. Probably will dedicate as much time as possible if it's a very enjoyable experience. But it's probably not going to be enjoyable, so, you know, I'll have to manage it in some weird ways. You know, you become popular, you become important in life. People start relying on you, people start talking to you randomly, or asking you questions, or for advice, or whatever. And, it's a time you have to dedicate, and you also have to be rewarded for it. You don't want to do it for free. So I have to find those sweet spots and really calculate myself. And I can do that, you know. Because I have to spend time at home. Calculate and then start doing those things. Start allowing those things to manifest. So I'm not disconnected from my earth element. I'm not just jumping into fires of reality. But it's very, very interesting to analyze all these possibilities. And when I'm thinking about like superpowers, I can't help but to think about Smosh and how they're actually the beasts. It feels like they're the real ones. To some extent. Why the fuck Justin is at 300? What happened? What did I do? Well, I honestly don't know. Was it enough to just listen to a few songs? So weird. I mean, but then everyone has superpowers. And I don't think money is a superpower, unfortunately. Money's a weird one. Money's more like tied to a lot of fears and jealousy and a lot of negative stuff. And it's very difficult to build positive things. But maybe Mr. Beast proves me wrong. Right? All he has to do is not lose this challenge. And prove that money also can do things. I feel like, yes, it's true. Money can do things. But it removes the human aspect from interactions, right? But still, I can 50-50, maybe that works. Offer people money, but do the transaction in weird ways so it doesn't feel like we're just exchanging things, And people do need money in the first place, and it's a respectable thing. But it's weird. I mean, maybe it's not weird because if I get money from the government and I need money too, and I would be happy to receive it. You can give money for weird things, weird transactions. Like buying a Facebook profile is like, why the fuck would I need that one? It's just a weird transaction like that. You're not buying a car, you're not buying someone's time. You're literally buying a thing that they have created. Someone's creation. Now that's something, right? Buying someone's creation, that's a human, that's things you can buy. But buying views, buying attention, buying subscribers over, that's not something I can get behind. But hey, I still haven't made a fucking conclusion. I think that conclusion is very simple. The moment you hit this spot is where all your dreams start to come true. And for different people, those are different sort of dreams, right? Different kind of directions they're going. And some lower and higher. So not only are you gonna start comparing yourself, but anytime I say what my final goal is of like, here I will be dating celebrities or taking care of YouTube in general, people will stop laughing at me and realize, shit, he's probably saying the truth because I crossed this line and I had to experience a very similar thing. And yes, the positivity is the thing that puts you on the right path and gives you the correct dreams. It's the positivity, by the way. Because if you have fears, if you have weird things in your brain, like, this is why women are so successful. They learn the ways of positivity, but they don't understand what to be successful about, right? So they just project success onto themselves and not the people around them. So you never really feel like they're successful, you just get to see them being successful, which is a projection that has been given to you, specifically, because you like it. It's like, or you hate them being successful, I don't know what your relationship is, but it's yours now. So whenever they actually try to project success, they probably projected onto everyone around them. And it's like, look how cool I am, right? But the reality is, they don't understand at all how to actually be successful. They just know how to recreate things because they have enough power to do so in a way. They have enough attractive power, and if you recreate too many expensive things, you realize that you have wasted so many resources, and that's not a very positive thing to do. It's not a really positive thing to just run away from your hometown, far, far away, for whatever reason. You just want to travel. It's weird. So yeah, and past this point, you'll have a prestigious job, great connections, right? You should have plenty of resources to make your dreams come true, whatever they are. But if you wanted power, well, now you will only get responsibilities, not actual dreams, not actual feeling of like having a lot of speed. It's just a lot of responsibilities, a lot of people around you who are like, all right, you have to do this, this, and that. And that's your dream. It's like you'll work very hard because you enjoyed that, enjoyed leaving people behind, trashing them. But now I have to enjoy a shitty version of a dream that you cannot brag about. Because now the size matters. In this case, direction matters, but then the size matters. In this position, I don't know what matters. Your parents matter. Your environment matters, I guess. Your positioning. Because there you have no control, really, over your life at all. So I try to avoid talking about this part. Even like talking about it is actually an insult. Trying to understand it is actually an insult to whatever this is. Right? So this is why, like, children are innocent. You cannot have sex unless you're 18. Like, you're actually not supposed to talk about this thing. Whatever happens, happens. But if it doesn't happen, or whatever should happen, it's kind of like a sinful thing to discuss. It's almost like schools have to happen naturally. They have to be built naturally. And you have to be very sensitive about people who are experiencing this in their life. Once someone hits the lowest point, now you can make friends. Now you can actually put effort as much as you want, trying to look for these people who are hitting the rock bottom, their 20s, and they will have to climb on their own. Now you can help them out. There's plenty of opportunities here. Alright, to focus. And again, everything will change in 30s. Now the dream worlds will open up. All the possibilities. And that's a big deal. Already, I feel like I have magic, I just can't control it. I don't understand it fully. What the fuck is this thing? Because often enough I just get surprised and everything I just bump into this constantly. Get surprised, boom. Gotta go to sleep now, I guess. Get surprised, ejaculate, go to sleep. That's life right there. But you keep doing that, and eventually people will pass you through just by default. Just because you're old enough, It's almost like this wall is made out of other people's intentions too, to not allow idiots to pass through who are immature. But it's like everyone's gonna pass through. This is potentially why people actually change their directions. They feel like because they were not passed through this way, they will just keep doing this, and they will pass through eventually. They have they will speed up with the fastest car imaginable, and they will just break through. Because going straight in the short version of even just going from my home to school right now would be a tremendous fucking adventure. Because I have never, for a long time, I didn't talk to my teachers. They might ask me a lot of questions that are like super deep, and I have weird answers for that shit. Again, I'm completely alone on that one. No one's gonna come with me. I cannot convince a single person to come with me to school anymore. So, in terms of which generation I represent, I would have to represent all of them by myself, all of my experience by myself. It's the most ridiculously difficult thing. It's almost like, it's you had to do all that homework and you're going to a teacher to deliver fucking bags and bags of homework to all the different teachers that you experience. Like, this is crazy, bro. Going to school is a crazy experience now. What are we talking about? The only time you need a fast card is to run away. But it's like, what are you running away from? Again, it's the most straightforward thing. You liked someone, right? The most straightforward thing is to tell them you like them in as many ways as possible. Just put up a bunch of posters, you like this, talk about them. I kind of do that with Monica in a way. I definitely do that with Ariana. So, you have to do the straightforward things, the most sensible things. I don't care how scared you are, because otherwise you're just overcomplicating things. And some people say when they overcomplicate things, I'm actually simplifying things. That's not how it works. This is the simple way. The simple way is to show no fear, just to show that you have the ability to have conversations, the free flow, that you don't feel that other people have bad intentions until they show that they're doing something really awful. And then you just like, well, you have to stop doing that. Life is very straightforward. Again, what is up with this power thing? Like, it's crazy, right? But hey, I'm just better. I'm just better built. My 30s are gonna be fucking fantabulous. And past that point, goddamn, bro, people gonna cry themselves to sleep when they realize, shit, this guy is reaching for that sort of level of insanity, that sort of lifestyle. Yeah, cry yourself to sleep every single night, bro. Because you're suck. At that point, then we start comparing ourselves. And then it gets weird, unfortunately. Then it doesn't matter what you did in life up to that point. It doesn't matter what crazy experiences you had, how much sex you had, how many friends you made. None of that matters. How fast your car is, how fast your computer is. No, none of that matters, bro. Unless you learn how to use it properly. You found a way to build a cool story and a cool dream of what you're gonna do with it. How to maximize the output of all the things you have. Then I can understand that. But I haven't heard a single person brag of all the things they could do to me. That's the fucking point. When you start hearing that someone can do you a favor, you just have to give them something in return, or just be around them in the first place, then I'm gonna be scared because I'm like, fuck, maybe you do have bad intentions. Get away from me. This comes out of nowhere. Right now I will try to have a conversation with them to figure out if they're being genuine. But if no one is offering you anything, you should be concerned that it's not... They haven't yet found a way to offer anything. They're useless to society. They're not building society up. They're not actually understanding how relationships work. So, and the funny part, again, now that we have internet, relationships is honestly anything you believe in a way. 1 second. Fucking Minecraft wanted to ping me. Give me a Facebook notification, stupid Minecraft. I mean, I built stuff. I was different at school even. At the end of school, I wanted to quit school. Now I just have to appreciate everything as a weird experience that I have had no control over, to be honest. Very, very little control. Still to this point, I have very little control of how to do things because I'm more willing to make mistakes than actually make something functional. But right now, I've stacked this button game to a pretty high level. Anyone can just copy and paste it, but now it's hard. Now it's definitely difficult, but the most difficult part is to get to that point where, like, you actually want to do that. You want to copy and paste it. You need to know why. You know why. Because I'm not getting any profits, anything. So, when, again, you're doing this straightforward thing, you're in some kind of, like, blind spot where everything you do is, like, trash to other people, but to you is absolute gold. It's absolute, the most worthwhile thing ever. But everyone else is just thinking, that's lame. That's too easy. You know. But they'd never really try to do it themselves, because behind the scenes is where the hard work happens. So it's always easy to undervalue. It's very easy to buy a car, in my experience, in my perspective. It's very easy to be desperate enough to pick up women. That's easy. It's easy to be addicted to power. It is not easy to just reset the game and try all over again. See, the funny thing is, you can't focus here on this thing. You're not allowed to talk about it or focus unless you truly trust people or you feel like you can do it. You can go back to the past and you might find something cool. But this constantly just disappears. You can wake up one day and now you're addicted to power. You know, this is why you have to establish the environment around you. You have to build your environment and clean yourself up constantly. You have to put things that would remind you. Again, this button game is the one that actually carries me and not the other way around. I'm not carrying this thing with me. Oh, anyway, this line is not me doing the things, but it's all the things that I've accumulated. Right? That's the important part. So, when you hit your 20s, you will realize in order to beat the system, you have to start building things. You have to actually become something. You have to unleash as much effort as possible and stack it all the way up. That is the way out. That's the stuff that will remain in place. Well, you yourself, you cannot become this line, this highway. You can only drive the car all the way through and keep trying, Keep hoping that it's going to work out. Because time keeps going forward and people are dying. There's plenty of hints that next time you will wake up, it's going to be different. And number 30 is just a good indication of when it's supposed to happen, and when you can just plan that date to happen. You're not supposed to know exactly, but it's a good indication, I would say. Technically, it's whenever you truly believe in yourself and start building dreams, and it starts working, And I can't wait to tell a story when it starts happening of how it looks like, what it truly is, right? That's exciting. But now we truly primed ourselves, right? We built another little step here, maybe a little bit of a ramp, a speed rail. We are getting a faster and faster car because we're building a road for ourselves specifically. A personal highway that other people can use, which is why I can give people advice of like, yeah, this is what you do and how you do things. I'm showing you right now the best advice you can ever get. But a lot of things you have to figure out by yourself. Like, what the fuck am I showing, right? It's kind of abstract. I have to go down all the way to the basics. You have to build the rest. I don't know your story. I can only help you in abstract ways. The things that we all kind of can understand and relate to. That's all I can do. So yeah, you also build your skills here. For me, it's technology that, I bought a new microphone, I bought a new shiny keyboard. So it changes my lifestyle just enough to remind me, that I'm a better human being. But every time you have to remind yourself and reach that thing, just go through all of this. It's crazy. And now I'll be having access here. It kind of feels like losing virginity, I'm not gonna lie. That would be weird if that alliance is that, if that's the thing, that's supposed to happen. Because people put a lot of shit into that. So, could it be? Can I speculate right now? I don't think so. A lot of people's dream is to lose virginity, and somehow they do it before this happens. Not in a dream world at all. So, that's... You just sell your body, like nothing really happens because it doesn't matter to you, right? You don't put enough meaning into it. So what would be the first thing that would happen? Well, of course I wouldn't lose virginity, but maybe I would get my first kiss. That would be something. I would even, take my first conversation that doesn't fucking suck balls. I would take that one, but I felt like someone had it, but not really. I would take my first date for it to be a magical experience. Just first time where I can start to relate with women in a proper way that feels really powerful. But I can send the message to them, appreciate their positivity, have transactions in general. They have things to offer, we just exchange stuff. That's what I'm talking about. We're not talking about sexuality or virginities here. This is garbage. I'm talking about just a positive, happy experience that I can finally generate. Because up to this point, I'm still fucking lonely, right? So I have to stop being lonely. But in order to stop being lonely, there's a lot of strings attached, right? The moment you reach this point, you'll start making friends and connections that you will always have to reach. People gonna wait for you there. And they will be increasingly more sad if you don't get up to this level. Everything here is built out of connections with people. You have to imagine, as I come closer and closer to that dream girl, dream celebrity girl, I will have to pass through a lot of people who will just give me a thumbs up, like, yeah, you can go forward now, yeah. I respect you. I have to get a lot of passes, basically, by them. That I'm doing a good job and she will enjoy my company and all that shit. That's one feeling, Another feeling is that we probably just have to fucking smash into each other. Forget about fucking people passing me. But maybe that's my power-grabbing brain? I don't know. Desperate, because it's almost like impossible to do that, to just pull someone down magically. But fuck it, man, we'll try anything. All right, there's plenty of questions. I just know that people will wait for me there. People will wait to continue the adventures that we're gonna have together, right? Building things up and meeting new people and stacking people together in a way, in a union. And that's a really crazy thing, I'm not gonna lie, understanding it. And we could be building in a completely different Wait, it doesn't matter what kind of people come first, right? But that's the magic. That's the magic that I've mentioned before, and that's the greatest conclusion. Who is gonna be the first person to break my loneliness, right? Who is it gonna be? That's the biggest question mark ever. That is the thing that actually like breaks this barrier. Who's gonna be the first person that I can actually trust to wait? Just to wait there, and anytime I break through this barrier and I knock on their door, we hang out, we have a good time, we improve the relationship a little bit, and that relationship is actually real and it will never go away because we're like so bonded together that it's impossible now to break it. So who's gonna be the first person to do it, right? And that's a big question, and you kind of do want it to be the biggest person in your life for the rest of your life. And why people are so desperate in this state to marry someone, so they know they would have a person when they break through, right? But that person can change any time if you keep discovering your loneliness. So it's another very interesting thing. Now it's an indication like I will get a pass from an actual person. Now that's a something. And right now we still have 1 year to potentially, get as big of a pass as I can get. Ugh. That's scary, man. Because the weird, yeah. If you're doing straightforward, there's one weakness you might find yourself in, is that making the final move can be really difficult. But like, why? If I created this thing, why would the final move just trip me over like that? I don't feel that pressure anymore. It's always there, but it slowly erodes, slowly gets out of the way. Especially if, again, you just have to gather enough experience and build a fast enough highway with that experience and prove other people that you did it. Did it, and you feel confident about it. So I'm not sure how we're gonna get that final step, but I'll try to make sure that whoever the first person is supposed to be is gonna be the best one, because that's the one that will start every single adventure. It has to be the best one, right? Wow. Now that's a conclusion, I think. I don't think I have anything else to say past this point. I think I bumped very hard and the video is over at 1.5 hours. The weirdest timing ever. I could just eat some candy, to be honest, but I feel I'm satisfied with the story. So, see you guys next time.